dangerous.
You know the drill. You search room by room, floor by floor.
What the?
Be done.
Everybody, hands down now!
The story starts with an explorer group called the Creepers, who venture into places that are either strictly off limits to the public or nearly impossible to access. They explore these forbidden locations, capture videos and photos, and upload them on social media so others can experience places they normally never could. The group includes Rick, the leader who chooses the locations and plans everything, his girlfriend Diane, who is eager to become famous on social media, Vern, the group's photographer, Cora, the key member of the team, basically the one who finds a way with none, using her parkour skills to open paths, and finally JD, who doesn't contribute much. One night, they were heading to an underground location. They evaded the police, jumped onto a moving train, opened the door mid-ride, and then leaped off at the right moment. But right after they landed, another train came rushing toward them. They ran for their lives, and barely managed to cling to the side, escaping death by inches. These kinds of risks are normal for them, and honestly they enjoy it. Once they reached the location, it was Ka who managed to find a way in, showing off her skills again. Inside, they discovered graffiti made by Jean-Michel Basquiat from his early days. Just so you know, Basquiat played a historic role in the rise of street art. He created over 600 paintings that sold for millions and more than 1,500 drawings. And it all started with graffiti like this. That's why this artwork is extremely valuable, especially since it's hidden in a place where no one would ever see it. But that's exactly where this group comes in. They want to show this hidden wonder to the world. Rick has one strict rule for the team. Wherever they go, they must not touch anything or take anything with them. No stealing, no disturbing, just capture photos and videos and leave. But tonight, JD's mind starts to wander. He realizes that if he takes even a small piece of this graffiti, he could become rich. So tempted by greed, he starts chipping away at the wall, something Rick does not like at all. And that's when a fight breaks out between them. Because of this, Rick kicked JD out of the group, but it didn't affect JD at all. Just a short while later, he joined a new group called the Scavengers, and uploaded a video with them showing off that piece of graffiti. This made the Creepers both angry and upset, because somewhere along the line, it was their actions that led to an important piece of art being ruined. We also see that the Scavengers are a full-on reckless group. They carry guns, and are involved in all kinds of shady activities. That's exactly why people watch them. Meanwhile, despite doing meaningful work, no one pays attention to the Creepers. The video they uploaded yesterday barely got 82 views. If they want to become famous, they'll have to do something big. And that's where Rick's plan comes in. He lays out the blueprint of the Paragon Hotel, a place that has been abandoned for years. The Paragon is infamous. It's the same hotel where the legendary gangster Meyer Lenski supposedly hid $300 million. Money that has never been found. And according to rumors, anyone who goes inside searching for it never comes back out. The urban legend says that the hotel is home to something evil. That means this mission is going to be extremely dangerous. And all four of them are going in. They start imagining how rich they could become with that kind of money. But Rick quickly reminds them of their code. They're going in only for photos and videos, not for the money. If anyone is tempted by the cash, they should speak up now because the trip will be called off. No one says a word, so the plan is set. Once they get footage from inside, it's bound to go viral anyway. Rick makes one more thing clear. This time, they will operate strictly as a team. No one will do anything separately for their own social media. This was clearly directed at Diane, and she agrees, but tension starts to build between them. When Dan shows new hairstyle, Rick barely reacts, which annoys him. Taking advantage of that frustration, Dan goes ahead and posts on social media that they're heading to the Paragon despite Rick specifically telling him not to just 2 minutes earlier. Now whether this childish move makes them go viral or not, that remains to be seen. That night, they all gather at a motel near the beach in room 13, but Diane hasn't shown up yet. They're waiting for her, but instead, a stranger named Frank arrives. He claims to be from a Vice news outlet. Frank saw Diane's post, then messaged Cora, and that's how he ended up here. Soon after, Diane finally shows up and apologizes for the chaos her post caused. Frank explains that he's here to see how they plan to break into the Paragon, how they're actually going to get inside. Cora says they want to blow up their Instagram, and Frank could help them do that by writing a strong article about them. At this point, we can already see that Cora has started developing a soft spot for Frank. Rick and Vern were on one side because they were convinced that Frank was a cop, and because of that, they didn't want to take him along. But Cora and Diane sided with Frank, which forced the group to take him with them. Another reason was that their van had run out of fuel, so they all squeezed into Frank's Mini Cooper and made their way to the hotel. When they got there, every entrance was sealed shut. The only way inside was through an underground tunnel, but even that wasn't going to be easy. Dark clouds suddenly gathered in the sky, meaning they had to get through the tunnel quickly or risk getting trapped in rising water. Cora had another problem. She might be the key member of the group, but when it comes to insects and rats, she completely freezes. And exactly that happened. As they crawled through the tunnel in a line, thousands of rats suddenly rushed toward them. Cora started panicking, barely able to breathe. But at the right moment, Frank stepped in and protected her, saving her from passing out. After finally getting out of the tunnel, they began breaking through a barricade to create a way inside. But in the middle of it, Dan split off from the group to find her own way in. Her real motive to go live on Instagram from inside the hotel. Back on her phone, Dan had already started streaming. Meanwhile, Rick was taking videos, and Vern was clicking pictures. Being inside Paragon gave them an intense adrenaline rush. In that excitement, Rick shouted the name Paragon a little too loudly. That sudden noise startled a flock of pigeons, which flew straight into a massive chandelier hanging above. It was already barely holding on, and the impact was enough to bring it crashing down right onto Ka. She would have been crushed instantly if she hadn't reacted in time and moved aside using her quick reflexes. If anything had happened to Cora, the group's confidence would have completely shattered. Elsewhere, Diane entered a grand hall where a piano was placed. Still live on her stream. She started playing it. During this, Rick kept calling her, but she ignored the calls, afraid it would ruin her live stream, but everything fell apart at the very next moment. She heard a strange sound from above, and it definitely wasn't rats this time. It was something heavier, something far more dangerous. Terrified, Dan started running, but without proper footing she suddenly slipped and fell. And right then, a pale, horrifying creature appeared behind her. We only get a glimpse of its claw, and before she could react, it grabbed her and dragged her away. The most chilling part, everything got recorded on her phone because while she was running, the Instagram Live had stopped and the camera had started recording instead. Meanwhile, Cora and Frank were having a conversation, and we learned that Frank is actually married. He even showed Cora a photo of his wife Amanda, which must have hurt her a little. Byrne was busy taking pictures when he noticed a claw mark on the wall, along with some strange movement. Quietly, he slipped away from there. When he showed the photo of the claw mark to the others, Rick's concern grew even stronger. Rick was already searching for Dan, but now he put everyone else to work too. The moment they find Dan, they're leaving the hotel immediately. No more exploring. Cora and Vernon headed toward the front desk, hoping to find a useful key. On the way, Ka teased Vernon, joking that he got scared just by seeing the claw mark. She was making fun of him while standing next to a large covered statue. When they reached the desk, Vernon found an old newspaper. The headline revealed that after the owner of the Paragon Hotel murdered his wife, he mysteriously disappeared. Because of this, the hotel was shut down. The police never revealed much, but rumors claimed that the wife's chest had been torn open and her heart was ripped out. This report dated back to 1980, and the hotel has been abandoned ever since. Meanwhile, Rick and Frank continued searching when suddenly Rick's foot got caught in a bear trap, leaving him badly injured. Hearing his scream, Cora and Vernon rushed to him. He desperately needed medical attention, but he refused to leave. Not until they found Dan. With no other option, Frank wrapped a cloth around the wound and sealed it with duct tape. Just then, they heard Dan's phone ringing from upstairs. The four of them rushed up and discovered something horrifying. A massive tree in the center, with numerous phones and cameras hanging from it by cables. Every device that had ever entered this hotel was hanging there. Not a single image had ever made it out. Vernon started taking photos of the tree, but many had tried before him. Dan's phone was also hanging from the tree. They took it down and played the last recorded video, which showed Dan running trying to escape from something. But right when the clawed creature was about to appear, the phone battery died. At that exact moment, they heard that same heavy, terrifying sound again from above. Cora and Vernon insisted that they should call the police, but Rick argued that they didn't have time to wait. Frank agreed with him, and the four of them continued their search. But suddenly they were attacked by scavengers, people who had come to the hotel after seeing posts about Dan. When JD stepped forward, Frank immediately pulled out a gun and aimed it at him. This shocked everyone on Frank's side, because it meant one thing. Frank wasn't a journalist at all, and his true motive was something else entirely. Anyway, the scavengers' leader, Todd, attacked and knocked the gun out of Frank's hand. The third member, Mac, quickly picked it up. Todd already had a gun of his own, and using it, he started torturing Cora. Jade couldn't even watch what was happening, but he didn't have the courage to stand up to Todd. Frank tried to distract Todd by revealing his motive. He explained that his wife was a reporter, and 2 months ago she came to this hotel with her photographer to do a story on the owner, but since then, both of them have gone missing. The police weren't doing anything, and he couldn't either, because he had no idea how to get inside the hotel. Then he saw Dan's post, which gave him hope, and that's how he joined the group. Now that he's inside, all he wants is to find his wife. Frank told the whole story, but Todd didn't care at all. He kept tormenting Cora. In response, Cora spat in his face. Enraged, Todd pulled out a handkerchief from his pocket to wipe it off. And that handkerchief belonged to Diane. The moment Rick saw it, he lost control and lunged at Todd. Without hesitation, Todd grabbed him and threw him straight down from above. No one saw where Rick landed. There were huge vertical holes between the floors, so he just vanished. Rick was gone. No one expected Todd to go that far, not even JD. JD said this wasn't part of the plan, but the moment he said that, Todd struck him hard too. Todd then demanded to know where the money was, the $300 million. The problem was the money was in the office, clearly marked on the blueprint, and the blueprint was with Rick. The same Rick Todd had just thrown down without thinking. So now Todd decided to take everyone downstairs to find Rick's body, retrieve the blueprint, and escape with the money. When they went down, they did find a body, but there was a massive gap in between. Using her parkour skills, Cora managed to cross it. But when she got there, she realized it wasn't Rick. It was an old corpse. Since Rick was nowhere to be found, Todd decided to head back. But to make sure Cora couldn't return, he shot and broke the cable she had used to cross. As they moved forward, they heard a strange noise coming from a room. When they went inside, they found a wardrobe. The moment they opened it, Beth came out, the same photographer who had come with Frank's wife. But as we can see, she was extremely weak. Before Frank could even ask her anything, that same eerie sound echoed from above again. Hearing it, Beth panicked and said, "He's coming. You're all going to die." As soon as they heard this, the scavengers shut all the curtains, plunged the room into darkness, and put on their night vision goggles, ready to ambush and kill whatever came in. But they had no idea that something far more dangerous was already on its way from below. The creature silently approached and suddenly shoved a rod straight into JD's mouth, pinning him against the wall without making a sound. No one even realized what had happened until the creature revealed itself. Todd and Mac immediately opened fire. Todd eventually ran out of bullets, and in the middle of the chaos, the creature slipped back up through the same hole in the floor. That's when they realized those holes weren't random. They were the creature's pathways, meaning escaping it inside this hotel would be nearly impossible. While they'd be running up and down stairs, the creature could move freely through the holes. They couldn't stop the creature, but their gunfire caused another tragedy. One of the bullets struck Beth in the forehead. Meanwhile, Frank still had no idea what had happened to his wife. But strangely, his hope only grew stronger, because if Beth could still be alive, then maybe his wife was too. Elsewhere, Dan was also still alive. Regained consciousness in a room that looked like it was prepared for some kind of satanic ritual. No matter how hard tried, couldn't escape. At the same time, Ka was searching for a way out when she found Rick still alive. But just as they reunited, the creature appeared again. Rick hid under the bed, while Cora squeezed herself into a closet. The creature opened the closet door. Cora barely managed to cling to the top, trying to stay out of sight, but it noticed her. Just as it was about to attack, Rick jumped in to save her. The creature grabbed him, giving Cora just enough time to escape. It threw Rick aside and started chasing Cora, but she managed to get into an elevator just in time. The creature tried to reach her, but the closing doors saved her life. Cora was devastated that she couldn't save Rick. When she reached the top floor, she found a control room showing live feeds from all the cameras. On one screen, she saw the ritual room, and in another, a horrifying sight, a woman sitting on a chair with her chest ripped open, her heart missing. There were several tapes scattered around. One of them was stained with blood. Cora played the tape, and finally the truth was revealed. A notorious gangster had given the hotel owner a satanic book, one that contained rituals to gain dark powers. And now that very book was in the hands of the witch. To gain supernatural powers, the hotel owner first performed a transformation ritual. In that ritual, he brutally tore open his own wife's chest, ripped out her heart, and ate it raw. The moment he did that, he transformed into the same pale creature that still haunts the hotel to this day. So the hotel owner never actually disappeared. He's still alive, trapped inside his own hotel. He's the one who doesn't let anyone leave anymore, because now he possesses dark powers. And the reason he has imprisoned the witch is that he plans to perform another ritual with her, one that will make him even more powerful. He has even kept a wedding dress ready for her. The moment she willingly puts it on, it will count as her consent, since she'll be choosing it herself. The creature isn't forcing her. Instead, he left the book in front of her so she could read it and decide on her own to take part in the ritual. And he chose her for a reason. Because deep inside, she carries the same hunger, the desire to rise above everyone else. In modern terms, it's like the craving to become famous on social media. Once she wears the wedding dress and is ready, the final ritual, the secret soul ritual, will begin. Their souls will merge into one, and the creature will evolve into an immortal demon. After that, no one will ever be able to stop him, which means right now he can still be stopped. Meanwhile, Todd and Mac wandered into the same office, where $300 million was hidden. The gangster's body was lying there too, his chest torn open, his heart already eaten. At this point, a rat had made a home inside his corpse. Todd only cared about the money, so he started collecting it. But Mac felt that something was terribly wrong. He tried to escape, but in his panic, he ran straight into a metal wire and accidentally slit his own throat. At the same time, the creature reached Todd and ripped out his heart as well. Then it moved toward the witch, where for the first time we finally got a clear look at its terrifying face. Meanwhile, Vern and Frank arrived at Mac's body, noticing his heart was missing. Through the camera, Cora spotted them and started guiding them using a walkie-talkie, which they found in Mac's bag. She warned them the creature was heading straight for them. They quickly ran into the kitchen and blocked the door using a rolling pin. From there, they had to use a food elevator to pull themselves up. Vern went up first, but when it was Frank's turn, the creature broke in and started chasing him. Frank didn't have enough time to reach Vern and Ka, so he told Vern to cut the elevator cable. Frank jumped down to the lower floor and barely survived, but the creature followed the elevator down right after him. After that, Frank reached the same tree, and there he found his wife's phone. Just then, Ka told him that she had found someone inside one of the rooms. She sent Frank into that room where a woman was sitting on a chair. The moment Frank saw her, he froze in shock because it was his wife who had died long ago. Seeing her like that completely broke him, but at least now he finally got some closure. He covered her body with his jacket and went back upstairs to the others. Now he was ready to do whatever it took to save Dan, because the danger wasn't over yet. The footage had already revealed that the creature wasn't dead, and Frank was now determined to kill it. Meanwhile, after a lot of hesitation, Dan put on the wedding dress, and the moment she dressed like a bride, the groom appeared in front of her. The creature, dressed as a groom, became aggressive and started moving toward her, but Dan hit him in the face with a book and made a run for it. She had worn the dress just to get the door opened. She ran at full speed, but the creature still managed to catch her. Hearing her scream, Frank rushed in, grabbed the creature and jumped off from above with it. He drove the creature straight onto a sharp tree branch. The branch pierced right through its heart, killing it instantly. But in the process, Frank also lost his life. Still, because of his sacrifice, everyone else survived. When Cora brought Dan and the others to Rick's body, they realized something shocking. Rick was still alive. That meant the entire group had survived. Overwhelmed with relief, they started taking photos and videos inside the place. And once they got out, those clips went viral. Earlier, they couldn't even get 100 views, and now they were hitting 100 million views. They had become full-blown celebrities. Even the video showing the creature's claw went viral, but people dismissed it as fake. After gaining success, Dan changed her look again. And this time, Rick changed too. Breaking his own code, he secretly took some money from inside. And now all four of them were set to live a luxurious life. And with that, the movie comes to an end. So what did you think about the movie? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to this channel for more stories like this.